The focus tonight is on what Harvey Weinstein allegedly did to women and to intimidate them after the fact as new accusers come forward and new details come to light. If even a fraction are true, they paint a portrait of a predator who wielded power over women, power over their livelihood, and power allegedly to make the legal consequences of any wrongdoing go away. We'll talk about all of it with our panel shortly, especially that one incident that Rona Farrow brought to light, the one Manhattan District Attorney might have prosecuted Weinstein for, but instead chose not to. More on that from our Gary Tuckman.
Harvey Weinstein didn't know it, but this model was wearing a hidden microphone given to her by New York City police to capture an encounter between the two that began in a hotel hallway.
I'm telling you right now.
What do we have to do here?
Nothing. I'm going to take a shower. You sit there and have a drink.
According to the New Yorker magazine, Filipina and Italian model Ambra Battalana Gutierrez told police a day earlier that Weinstein had touched her breasts while he was going over her modeling portfolio and attempted to put his hand up her skirt. Police wired her up and encouraged her to meet with Weinstein again. If she could get him to admit to sexually assaulting her, they'd have it on tape. Gutierrez agreed and went to the New York hotel where he was staying.
I'm not doing anything with you. Now you're embarrassing me.
I'm sorry, I cannot. No, yesterday was kind of aggressive for me. I need to know a person to be touched.
I won't do a thing.
I don't want
do a thing, please. I swear I won't. Just sit with me. Don't embarrass me in the hotel. I'm here all the time.
I
Sit
know,
with me.
but
I
I don't
promise.
want to.
Please sit there. Please. 1 minute.
No,
I
I
ask
can't.
you.
Weinstein then asked her to go to the bathroom. Gutierrez said she wanted to leave, to go downstairs. And then came this key exchange.
I mean, don't have a fight with me in the hallway. Please. I'm not going to do anything. I swear, my children. Please come in. On everything. I'm a famous guy.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
Please come in now. And 1 minute, and if you want to leave, when the guy comes with my
Why
jacket, you can go.
yesterday you touched my breast?
Oh, please, I'm sorry. Just come on. I'm used to that. Come on.
Are you used to that?
Yes, come in. Because
No, but I'm not used to
I
that.
won't do it again. Come on. Sit here. Sit here for a minute, please.
No, I don't want to.
Weinstein saying he wouldn't do it again and that he was used to it. Part of an exchange that seemed to back up Gutierrez's allegations.
Please, you're making a big scene here.
No,
Please.
but I want to leave.
Okay, goodbye. Thank you.
Despite those words caught on tape, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office decided not to prosecute. The DA's office saying while the recording is, quote, horrifying, it wasn't enough to prove a crime had occurred. Gary Tuckman, CNN, Atlanta.
I want to get the panel's take on all this. CNN political analyst Kirsten Powers joins me, along with CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Laura Coates, and CNN legal analyst Mark Garagos, criminal defense attorney. So, Mark, I mean, what do you make of this audio recording? Did the district attorney, you think, have enough evidence to perhaps bring charges?
No, in Anderson, I'm never afraid to second guess a prosecutor. In this case, I think they were right. The tape is horrifying to most people when they think about it as a layperson. But as a practical matter for hitting all of the elements, they didn't have enough. I think their explanation today rang true to me, is the police should have gone to them, should have had them tell them this is what we need. This tape actually, to my mind, is more devastating if you have a separate case with somebody else, and this is what they call 1101 or 401B or like crimes type evidence. This is a good case to force him to plead to something, but it was not a good case to bring as if you're a prosecutor.
Laura, could Harvey Weinstein still face charges based on the allegations against him now by the number of women who have come forward?
Absolutely, and not just the woman you're actually talking about from that 2015 incident, but you have the idea of two different levels of liability. You've got criminal and you've got civil. And so on the civil side, you may have charges against not only Harvey Weinstein in terms of civil lawsuits, but also about the Weinstein Company. You also have the issue of criminal liability if some of the alleged conduct did occur within the statutory period of limitations. Remember, most of this has to do with New York and California, neither of which any longer have a statutory limitations period that was as long as before. So if these are all recent allegations that could be brought within that statute, then absolutely you will have the ability to say he has a lot of liability and explaining to do. But I actually agree with Mark on the issue of the 2015 case, which you're missing there from the audio alone. And of course, the NYPD says they had far more in the background. But from that audio alone, what you are missing is the idea of the criminal, the actual mens rea, and whether there was a consent that was given or rejected or not given the day before, before he had the sting operation.
Kirsten, I mean, it's incredible listening to that recording, just sickening, just the way he's trying to get this woman to do what he wants. Everything from ordering her to basically begging her, bringing in his children, swearing on his children. It's just, to hear it is, I mean, it's one thing to read it, it's another thing to actually hear it.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible, and it kind of, it makes you think that this must have worked for him in the past, right? I mean, usually people don't do things unless they get the kind of results they want. So that somehow this bullying and just trying to wear down a woman who's clearly resisting is something that he's not only comfortable with, but probably actually really enjoys. And I think as a lay person here, listening to lawyers talking about it, it seems to me inconceivable, right, that this couldn't be used to prosecute somebody. And so, that's, I think it's just so hard for women, because you just sort of wonder, what does it take if this isn't enough to prove, he admits to it on tape, essentially having done this the day before.
Anderson, that's a really good point. I mean, it's a spectacular point. When you listen to it viscerally, you say to yourself, how could this not be a crime? And that's what the disconnect is, because the prosecutor, and mind you, the woman who's head of the sex crimes unit in New York, this is not a shrinking violet. She's somebody who prosecutes cases. And I know there's the whole Dominic Strauss-Kahn imbroglio and everything else. But the fact is that to hit the elements, they must, I'm thinking, if I'm the prosecutor in this case, I'm going crazy. Why didn't the police come to me? Why didn't they tell me or let me give input into what she should have been asking? Because obviously this woman, what was she, 19 years old? She was troubled. She didn't want to do this. That is a great fact if you're a prosecutor. She's not trying to sue. She's not trying to do anything else. And they probably are frustrated beyond all get out as to why they weren't brought into the loop.
But
Laura,
if I can,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
If I can, as somebody who's prosecuted a lot of sexual offenses as well as delayed reporting, one of the biggest frustrations and the hurdles is not simply whether there was a strategic alliance between the police department and the attorney's office. It also is about societal viewpoint about people who are delayed in their reporting, and that's normally the hurdle you must face. In this case, this is almost an instantaneous report that has not been satisfactory for the prosecutor in satisfying the elements. But as Mark alluded to earlier, this has a lot of parallels to other very famous cases we've heard about, where there's multiple women who have made these allegations, and those can go towards getting a case together about this MO of the person. This apparently is his MO, as Kirsten's alluding to, the idea that it's been successful in the past to try to, browbeat somebody into submission into the sexual predatory behavior. And so those all can come together, even if they're outside of that period, to buttress the claims of somebody who is a standing plaintiff in a case. We saw that in the Bill Cosby case. Exactly. Dozens of women came forward, and only one was able to be criminally prosecuted in that.
Kirsten, though, you read Ronan Farrow's account, and the number of people in Harvey Weinstein's office who seem to be kind of in on this this strategy of women who were to sit in on meetings early on so that the potential target would feel comfortable, and then they would leave, and maybe the meeting was in a hotel room and it seemed legit at first, and then all of a sudden everyone else leaves the room and it's just Harvey Weinstein and the person he apparently wants to assault.
Right. I mean, the thing is, it's not just Harvey Weinstein that's the problem, and we focus on these people, whether it's Roger Ailes or Harvey Weinstein, who come along. There's a whole system around these people that supports what they're doing, and that's something that has to be looked at. And I think every person has to sort of look at themselves as well and say, you know, how do I participate in the system? We talk about institutional racism. There's also institutional sexism and misogyny, and how am I participating in this? Because these people couldn't do what they're doing without the enabling of the people around them, and that's something that you see over and over. You know, we talked last night about how similar this was to Fox News. I mean, all the same factors are there of the same type of people enabling this behavior.
And you want to know something, Anderson? Part of the calculus of the prosecutors in this case with this young woman is precisely derivative of what she just said. They floated out today. This woman had testified in the Italian Prime Minister Bunga case, and they have kind of post-traumatic prosecution syndrome from the Dominic Strauss case. So there is something that filters into that. It's built into the system. It's not just film. It's Hollywood, it's music, it's, you know, movies, it's, you know, it's fame. I mean, that's a real problem.
Yeah. Mark Garagos, Laura Coast, Kirsten Powers, thank you very much.